I never expected desire to hit me when I saw her at the spaceship door. Stardust collision. The vast emptiness of space had long been Nicholas Reed's only companion. As the navigation console of his research vessel, the Horizon Seeker, illuminated his weathered face. He studied the unusual energy signature pulsing at the edge of the Vega Nebula. 6 months into his cartography mission for the Terran Science Division, this was the first anomaly worth investigating. Computer, analysis of signal pattern, Nicholas asked, brushing a hand through his salt and pepper hair. Signal contains artificial communication frequencies consistent with distress beacon protocols. Origin unknown, the AI responded in its characteristically flat tone. Nicholas adjusted his course. Standard protocol dictated reporting such findings to command. But out here, 3 weeks from the nearest relay station, protocol bent to practicality. If someone needed help, waiting for bureaucratic approval could mean death. Log deviation from assigned route, he muttered. Reason, humanitarian investigation. The Horizon Seeker glided through the nebula's outer wisps, iridescent gases swirling against the viewports. As he approached the signal's origin, Nicholas spotted the vessel, sleek and silver with elegant curves unlike any human design. Its hull bore scorch marks along one side, and it drifted without apparent power. Scan for life signs, he ordered, heart quickening despite years of space-hardened composure. One life form detected, species unknown. Vital signs stable but weak. After docking with practiced precision, Nicholas secured his oxygen mask and sidearm. First contact protocols existed for a reason, but so did the ancient code of seafarers that had extended to the stars. Aid those in distress? Regardless of origin, the airlock cycled with a hiss, and Nicholas stepped cautiously into the alien vessel. Emergency lighting cast everything in a soft blue glow, revealing a technology both familiar and strange. Following the life sign readings on his scanner, he navigated through narrow corridors until reaching what appeared to be the command center. There, slumped in what must be the pilot's seat, was a figure. She, for despite alien physiology, Nicholas's mind immediately registered the being as female. Had skin the color of twilight, a soft purple hue that seemed to shimmer faintly. Her features were striking, high cheekbones, a delicate nose, and lips pressed thin in unconsciousness. Where human hair would be, she had what looked like tendrils that fell in graceful curves around her shoulders, their color deepening to midnight at the tips. Nicholas approached slowly, medical scanner in hand. Hello, can you hear me? Her eyes snapped open, startlingly vibrant irisless pools of silver that fixed on him with immediate alertness. She moved with unexpected speed, pressing herself against the console, reaching for something at her side that wasn't there. I'm not here to hurt you, Nicholas said, raising his hands in the universal gesture of peace. Your ship was damaged. I picked up your distress signal. The alien woman studied him, her gaze moving methodically from his face to his hands, to the insignia on his uniform. Then, to his surprise, she spoke. You are human. Her voice carried an ethereal quality, the translator in Nicholas's comm unit working seamlessly with whatever technology she possessed. Yes. My name is Nicholas Reed, cartographer with the Terran Science Division. She straightened, composure returning quickly. I am Lyria Zenth, diplomatic envoy of the Australis Confederation. A slight wince crossed her features as she moved. It seems I owe you my gratitude, Nicholas Reed. Are you injured? He asked, stepping closer. Nothing critical, she replied, though her hand pressed against her side. My ship's systems were compromised during an unexpected encounter. Something in her tone suggested this was an understatement. Nicholas had spent enough time in Frontier Outpost to recognize the look of someone being pursued. My vessel has medical facilities, he offered, and we can assess the damage to your ship. Lyria hesitated, her silver eyes searching his. In that moment, something unexpected passed between them, a connection that transcended species. Nicholas felt a warmth spread through his chest, a sensation he hadn't experienced in years of solitary space travel. That would be acceptable, she finally said, attempting to stand but faltering. Without thinking, Nicholas moved to support her, his arm sliding around her waist. The contact sent an electric current through him. Her skin was warm with a texture like velvet. Their faces were suddenly inches apart, and he could detect a faint scent like cinnamon and starlight. Lyria's silver eyes widened slightly, and Nicholas knew she felt it too, this inexplicable pull between them, defying the vast differences in their biology and origin. "Can you walk?" he asked, his voice unexpectedly husky. "With assistance," she admitted, her arm cautiously moving around his shoulders. Together they moved toward the airlock, the first steps of a journey neither had anticipated. As the stars watched impassively through the viewports, two beings from worlds apart began a collision course that would alter the trajectories of their lives forever. Ubesno. Violet whispers, the medical bay of the Horizon Seeker hummed with quiet efficiency as Nicholas carefully applied a regeneration patch to Lyria's side. The wound, a clean energy burn, told a story of precision and intent that troubled him. This wasn't an accident, he observed, his fingers lingering perhaps a moment too long on her twilight skin. Lyria's silver eyes met his. "No, it was not. Are you going to tell me who's hunting you?" Nicholas asked, stepping back to give her space. The medical scanner indicated her physiology was remarkably adaptable, already responding well to the human medical treatment. She sat up, testing her mobility. "The less you know, Nicholas Reed, the safer you remain. I left safe behind when I docked with your ship," he countered with a half-smile. "And it's just Nicholas." For the first time, her lips curved into something resembling a smile. The expression transformed her face, adding warmth to her otherworldly beauty. "Very well, Nicholas." The way she pronounced his name, with a musical lilt to the syllables, sent an unexpected shiver down his spine. Was carrying sensitive diplomatic information. There are factions within both my government and yours who would prefer this information never reaches the Galactic Council." Nicholas leaned against the medical console. "I'm just a cartographer. Politics isn't my specialty. And yet here you are harboring a fugitive diplomat." Her silver gaze seemed to see through him. "Why did you really answer my distress call? Your kind typically avoid unknown vessels." The question caught him off guard. Why had he deviated from his mission? Standard procedure would have been to report and continue mapping. "I've been alone out here for months," he admitted, surprising himself with his honesty. "Maybe I was curious, or maybe some instincts transcend species, like helping someone in trouble." Lyria stood moving with a grace that seemed to defy the ship's artificial gravity. She approached until they were mere inches apart. "Curiosity is dangerous, Nicholas." Her voice dropped to a whisper, "But I find myself curious about you as well." The proximity of her was intoxicating. The faint illumination of the medical bay caught the subtle iridescence of her purple skin, and Nicholas fought the inexplicable urge to trace the elegant curve of her jaw with his fingertips. Their moment of tension shattered as the ship's alarm blared. "Proximity alert," the AI announced. "Unknown vessel approaching. Weapon signature detected." "They found me sooner than expected," Lyria said, her expression hardening. Nicholas was already moving toward the bridge. "Then let's make ourselves scarce." The Horizon Seeker wasn't built for combat or speed, but Nicholas knew the Vega Nebula intimately from weeks of mapping its contours. He piloted the ship deeper into the swirling gases and dust, toward a dense asteroid field that had once been a moon before some ancient cataclysm. "Their vessel is faster," Lyria observed from the co-pilot seat, her fingers dancing across the unfamiliar human controls with surprising adaptability. "But larger. These passages will prove difficult for them." Nicholas glanced at her with newfound respect. "You know your way around spacecraft." "Before diplomacy, I trained as a navigator." There was a hint of mischief in her silver eyes. "Perhaps we are not so different, Star Charter." The pursuing vessel fired, a beam of energy slicing through the nebula dangerously close to their starboard side. Nicholas rolled the ship, diving between two massive asteroids with barely a meter to spare on either side. "Hold on," he warned, cutting engines and activating minimal life support protocols. The Horizon Seeker drifted into the shadow of a massive asteroid, sensors on passive mode only. They sat in near darkness, the bridge illuminated only by essential systems. Nicholas held his breath as the pursuing vessel prowled through the asteroid field, scanning methodically. In the dim light, he could see Lyria's face, composed but alert, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. Minutes stretched into an hour. Their pursuers eventually moved deeper into the nebula, assuming their quarry had continued fleeing. We should remain here until we're certain they've moved on, Nicholas said softly, acutely aware of how close they sat in the darkened cockpit. The ship's life support minimized to avoid detection. Agreed, Lyria whispered back. Then, unexpectedly, I'm sorry to have brought this danger to you. I've had worse company in dangerous situations, he replied with a wry smile. The silence between them shifted, charged with something neither had anticipated. In the darkness of space hiding among the asteroids, time seemed suspended. Your temperature has elevated, Lyria observed, her voice taking on a quality Nicholas couldn't quite identify. Human stress response, he explained, though they both recognized the half-truth. Lyria's hand moved tentatively to rest on his forearm. Even through his flight suit, her touch sent warmth cascading through him. Astralesians have a similar response, though for us, it manifests as a subtle bioluminescence. Looking closer, Nicholas could indeed see the faintest glow emanating from beneath her purple skin, pulsing slightly with her heartbeat. It's beautiful, he murmured, no longer pretending his fascination was purely scientific. Her fingers traced up his arm to his shoulder, discovering the contours of alien musculature. You are so different, she whispered, and yet when I look at you I feel… What? Nicholas asked, his voice rough with unexpected emotion. Instead of answering, Lyria leaned forward, pressing her forehead against his, an intimate gesture that somehow felt more significant than a human kiss. Her silver eyes closed, and Nicholas found himself mirroring her, their breath mingling in the small space between them. Recognition, she finally said, as though the universe has been guiding us toward this improbable moment. Nicholas raised his hand, hesitated, then gently traced the curve of her cheek. Her skin was warm and soft, vibrating faintly with what might be her equivalent of a pulse. The universe has a strange sense of humor, he murmured, bringing us together while someone tries to kill you. Her lips, fuller and more expressive than he'd initially thought, curved into that captivating smile. Perhaps we should focus on staying alive long enough to explore whatever this is between us. Deal, Nicholas agreed, reluctantly pulling back to check the sensors. We should be safe to move soon. I know a place, a trading outpost at the edge of the nebula. It's not much, but they don't ask questions. Lyria nodded, her hand finding his in the darkness. Lead on, Star Charter. As Nicholas prepared the ship for departure, he found himself confronting a truth he hadn't anticipated. In the vast emptiness of space, he'd discovered something extraordinary, a connection that defied the odds, transcending the boundaries of worlds. Celestial Refuge, the trading outpost known as Drift Haven, floated at the nebula's edge like a tarnished jewel, a hodgepodge of interconnected structures that had grown organically over decades as ships and modules were added to the original mining station. Its reputation for discretion made it perfect for those seeking to disappear. Nicholas guided the Horizon Seeker into one of the smaller docking bays, away from the outpost's main thoroughfare. Keep your hood up, he advised Lyria as they prepared to disembark. Astralesians are rare in this sector. We don't need anyone remembering your face. She adjusted the gray cloak he'd provided, tucking her distinctive tendrils beneath the fabric. I've spent my career studying human cultural patterns, but I've rarely moved among your kind unnoticed. Just stay close to me, Nicholas said, checking his credit chip and sidearm. The universal language here is currency, followed closely by the threat of violence. The moment they stepped into Drift Haven's main concourse, Nicholas felt exposed. The station hummed with activity. Merchants hawking wares from a dozen systems, mechanics offering repairs at exorbitant prices, and the inevitable shadowy figures conducting business best left unexamined. He placed a protective hand at the small of Lyria's back, guiding her through the crowd toward a less trafficked section of the outpost. The contact, even through layers of fabric, sent a current of awareness through him. We need temporary lodging and information, he murmured. There's someone here who owes me a favor. They wound through narrow corridors until reaching a door marked only with a faded symbol resembling a compass. Nicholas knocked in a specific pattern and waited. The door slid open to reveal a woman with augmented eyes, mechanical irises that whirred as they focused. Read, she acknowledged with obvious surprise. Thought you were mapping the outer reaches. Plans change, Sella, he replied. We need a room. And information. Her mechanical eyes shifted to Lyria, scanning visibly. Interesting company you're keeping these days. Is that a problem? Sela shrugged. Not my business who you bed. Come in. Lyria stiffened beside him, and Nicholas felt a flush creep up his neck at Sela's assumption. But he didn't correct her. Let her think what she wanted. It provided better cover than the truth. Inside, Sela's establishment was part bar, part information brokerage. A few patrons nursed drinks in dark corners while holographic data streams scrolled across several monitors. 2 questions with your room, Sela offered, leading them to a back office. Standard rate. Done, Nicholas agreed, transferring credits. First, has anyone been asking about an Australasian diplomat or a Terran cartography vessel? Sela's augmented eyes whirred. Interesting. 3 individuals arrived yesterday. Military bearing, though no insignia. Asked about unusual ships, specifically mentioned your class of vessel. She glanced at Lyria. They didn't mention Australasians, but they were very motivated. Lyria and Nicholas exchanged glances. Second question, Nicholas continued. Fastest way out of this sector that wouldn't be obvious to someone hunting us? The Kythera current? Sela answered without hesitation. Subspace phenomenon. Difficult to navigate but cuts through 3 sectors. Maps are expensive. We'll take them, Nicholas said, authorizing another credit transfer. Sela handed over a data chip and a physical key. Room 12, upper level. Private entrance. Good soundproofing, she smirked. For whatever activities you have planned. Their temporary refuge was small but clean. A single room with basic amenities, a food synthesizer, and a viewport overlooking the nebula. Lyria moved immediately to the window, gazing out at the cosmic vista. It's peculiar, she said softly, how the same stars can look so different depending on where, and with whom, you view them. Nicholas joined her at the viewport, careful to maintain a respectful distance despite the growing magnetic pull between them. Why are they after you, Lyria? What information could possibly be worth this hunt? She was quiet for a long moment, her silver eyes reflecting the nebula's swirling colors. Evidence of a conspiracy, she finally said. Covert operations jointly conducted by extremist factions within both our governments, designed to destabilize the peace treaty. The Centauri Accords? Nicholas frowned. Those negotiations took decades. Some profit from conflict, Lyria turned to face him. I discovered communications proving military leaders from both sides have been orchestrating border incidents, planning to trigger a new conflict. Her expression hardened. I was supposed to be eliminated along with the evidence during a pirate attack on my vessel. They didn't expect me to escape with the data core. Nicholas ran a hand through his hair, processing the implications. And that data core is hidden within my ship, she confirmed, which is why we need to return for it before departing this sector. The gravity of their situation settled around them. This was no simple rescue anymore. They were entangled in a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of power. Why trust me with this? Nicholas asked quietly. I'm a stranger, a human no less. Lyria moved closer, the space between them charged with unspoken tension. Because you risked everything to help someone you didn't know. Because when our eyes first met on my ship, I felt... She paused, searching for words. Recognition, Nicholas finished for her, echoing her earlier sentiment. Her hand rose to his face, fingers tracing the contours so different from her own kind. My people believe in cosmic symmetry, that certain souls are drawn together across time and space. That sounds suspiciously like destiny, he murmured, his own hand rising to mirror her gesture, fingertips exploring the silken texture of her purple skin. Not destiny, she corrected, choice. We are constantly presented with moments that can alter our path. You chose to answer my distress call. I chose to trust you. The air between them seemed to vibrate with possibility. Nicholas found himself leaning closer, drawn by an attraction that defied rational explanation. And now? He whispered. Now we choose again, she answered, her silver eyes holding his gaze. Their lips met hesitantly at first. The first contact between human and Australasian perhaps in history, certainly in this intimate context. Her mouth was warmer than he expected, softer, moving against his with a gentleness that quickly deepened into something more urgent. Nicholas pulled her closer, one hand at the small of her back, the other tangling in her tendrils which seemed to respond to his touch, curling around his fingers. Lyria made a sound. something between a sigh and a musical note that vibrated against his lips. When they finally parted, her skin glowed with that bioluminescent response, pulsing in time with her rapid breathing. That was, she began. Unexpected? He offered. Inevitable, she corrected with a smile that transformed her already beautiful face. Nicholas traced the curve of her jaw, marveling at how quickly the universe had expanded and contracted simultaneously, bringing the vastness of space down to the single point of connection between two beings. Tomorrow we retrieve your data core, he said. Tonight, Lyria agreed, drawing him back to her. We explore this new territory between stars. Outside the viewport, the nebula continued its slow dance, cosmic dust and gas forming patterns as old as time itself. Inside, two beings from different worlds discovered that some languages, desire, connection, understanding, required no translation. Nebulas embraced on in space was an arbitrary concept, but the station's lighting cycle shifted to morning brightness as Nicholas awoke. Beside him, Lyria slept, her purple skin emitting a subtle glow that pulsed with her breathing. Last night had been a revelation, their physiological differences creating unexpected harmonies rather than obstacles. He studied her face, peaceful in sleep, the elegant curve of her brow, the slight iridescence of her eyelids, the tendrils that moved gently, as though stirred by dream currents. How strange that in the vastness of space, he would find connection with someone so different yet so fundamentally similar. Lyria's eyes opened, silver irises focusing on him with immediate awareness. You're watching me, she observed, her voice carrying that musical quality that stirred something in his chest. Sorry, he smiled. Still getting used to this. Her hand found his, fingers intertwining, 5 digits meeting 5 in perfect symmetry despite their different origins. Regrets? None, Nicholas said firmly. Though I'm still processing how quickly everything has changed. 3 days ago I was alone mapping stars. Now I'm harboring a fugitive diplomat and plotting to recover, evidence of an interstellar conspiracy, while engaging in unprecedented cross-species intimacy, she added, with a hint of mischief in her silver eyes. Nicholas laughed, the sound surprising him with its ease. That too. Their moment of levity faded as reality reasserted itself. Today they would need to return to Lyria's damaged vessel, retrieve the data core, and somehow find safe passage through the Kythera current, all while evading those hunting them. Sela sent a message, Nicholas said, checking the room's communication panel. Our hunters were asking questions at the docking bays last night. They're searching systematically through the station. Lyria sat up, all traces of sleep vanishing. Then we have limited time. We need to move now. The Horizon Seeker slipped away from Drift Haven during a busy docking sequence, using the traffic as cover. Nicholas plotted a circuitous route back to where they'd left Lyria's vessel, constantly scanning for pursuit. Your ship's systems were compromised, he noted as they approached the drifting vessel. What's to stop them from tracking the data core once we retrieve it? Lyria's fingers danced across the navigation console, assisting with approach vectors. The core is isolated and shielded. They can track my ship's energy signature, but not the core itself. Docking with the damaged vessel was more difficult this time. Its systems had deteriorated further during their absence. Once secured, they moved quickly through the silent corridors, Lyria leading the way to a hidden compartment beneath the command center floor. Here, she said, kneeling to press her palm against an unmarked panel. It slid open, revealing a small cylindrical object pulsing with faint blue light. The evidence that could prevent a war, or start one depending on whose hands it reaches. Nicholas kept watch, anxiety prickling along his spine. Let's not linger. As if summoned by his words, the proximity alarm on his wrist device shrieked. Ship approaching, fast. Lyria secured the data core in a pouch at her side. We won't make it back to your vessel before they arrive. Nicholas assessed their options rapidly. The engines on your ship, are they functional at all? Minimal thrust only. Not enough for significant maneuvers. A plan formed in his mind, desperate but possibly effective. We don't need maneuvers. We need a distraction. Working together, they rerouted power to the vessel's engines and set a simple, autopilot function, one that would send the ship on a direct course into the densest part of the nebula. Once they disengaged, they'll follow the more obvious target. Nicholas explained as they hurried back toward the airlock connecting to the Horizon Seeker. Just as they reached the threshold, the entire ship shuddered violently. "They're firing on us," Lyria exclaimed, stumbling into Nicholas's arms. The impact had damaged the airlock mechanism. Nicholas fought with the manual override as the pursuing vessel continued its approach, each blast bringing it closer. "Go," Lyria urged, her hands joining his on the manual crank. With a final wrenching effort, the airlock opened and they tumbled through into the Horizon Seeker. Nicholas disengaged immediately, simultaneously activating the decoy protocol. Lyria's abandoned vessel began moving away, its engines flaring visibly. "Powering down all non-essential systems," Nicholas muttered, his hands flying across the controls. "We'll drift while they chase your ship." They watched in tense silence as the pursuing vessel, sleek and heavily armed, adjusted course to follow the decoy. Only when both ships had disappeared into the nebula's multicolored haze did Nicholas allow himself to breathe. "That bought us time, but they'll realize the deception eventually," he said, plotting a new course. "We need to reach the Kythera current." Lyria placed the data core in a secure compartment, then returned to the co-pilot's seat. "Even if we escape this sector, where do we go? Both our governments are compromised." It was the question Nicholas had been avoiding. Their immediate survival had occupied his thoughts, but the larger problem remained. What did one do with evidence of corruption at the highest levels? "The Galactic Council," he suggested. "Public disclosure would force action." "Assuming we can trust the council representatives," Lyria countered. "This conspiracy runs deep, Nicholas." As the Horizon Seeker accelerated away from the nebula, heading toward the spatial phenomenon known as the Kythera current, Nicholas realized their brief idyll at Drift Haven had been just that, a momentary respite from the reality of their situation. "I need to show you something," he said suddenly. Adjusting their course slightly, Lyria looked at him questioningly. "Before we attempt the current, there's a place, a planet in an uncatalogued system just beyond the nebula's edge. I discovered it during my mapping expedition." "Why go there now?" she asked. "Because I need you to understand who I really am," Nicholas replied, his expression uncharacteristically vulnerable, "and why I chose to answer your distress call." The planet hung like a blue-green jewel against the velvet backdrop of space, clouds swirling across its surface in delicate patterns. Nicholas guided the ship into orbit, his movements precise but tinged with emotion Lyria couldn't quite decipher. "It's beautiful," she observed. "Habitable?" "Perfectly so," he confirmed. "Oxygen, nitrogen atmosphere, temperate climate, abundant water. It's a miracle it hasn't been colonized." "Because it's unmapped," she realized. "You never reported it." Nicholas nodded, his gaze fixed on the planet below. "I was a military pilot before I became a cartographer. During the border conflicts, I led a squadron on a mission that—" His voice faltered. "We were told it was a military target. It wasn't. It was a research station, scientists, families, Australasian and human researchers working together despite our government's tensions." Lyria's silver eyes widened with recognition. "The Proxima Station massacre. You were there?" "I gave the order to fire," he said quietly. "By the time we realized the intelligence was wrong, it was too late. 73 lives, both our species, gone because someone wanted to sabotage cooperation." The confession hung between them, altering the atmosphere as surely as a decompression event. "When I found this planet afterward, I made a decision. I left military service, became a cartographer, and kept this place secret. I thought, maybe someday it could be what Proxima Station was trying to be, a place where our kinds could build something together." Lyria moved from her seat to kneel before him, taking his hands in hers. "You've been carrying this guilt alone. When I found your ship, saw who you were," and Nicholas met her gaze, "it felt like the universe offering a chance at redemption. And now we have proof that what happened at Proxima Station was part of the same conspiracy," Lyria said, the pieces connecting. "Your tragedy and my mission, they're linked," Nicholas nodded. "Which is why I can't run anymore. We take the data core to the council, whatever the risk." Lyria's hands tightened around his. Together. The moment crystallized between them. Two beings finding purpose in shared pain and unexpected connection. Outside the viewport, the undiscovered planet continued its serene rotation, a promise of possibility. Their reverence shattered as the ship's sensors screamed a warning. 3 vessels had appeared at the edge of the system. Military class. "Weapons hot, they found us," Lyria whispered, her bioluminescence flaring with alarm. Nicholas was already moving, plotting a desperate course. The Kythera current is our only chance now. As the Horizon Seeker accelerated away from the hidden planet, Nicholas cast one last look at what might have been. A refuge, a new beginning. Then he turned his full attention to the desperate flight that would determine not only their fate, but potentially the future of peace between their peoples. The pursuing ships closed rapidly, weapons fire lighting the void around them. The current loomed ahead, a visual distortion in space where subatomic particles flowed like a river between stars, creating a natural highway for those brave or desperate enough to navigate its turbulent passage. "Hold on to me," Nicholas said as they approached the threshold, reaching for Lyria's hand. Their fingers intertwined as the Horizon Seeker plunged into the current, reality bending around them in a kaleidoscope of light and energy. Behind them, their pursuers hesitated at the boundary, unwilling to follow where only the truly desperate would venture. In the heart of the cosmic maelstrom, as the ship bucked and strained against forces that defied conventional physics, Nicholas and Lyria clung to each other, their unlikely bond the only certainty in a universe that had thrown them together across impossible odds. Constellation of hearts, the Kythera current spat them out like an afterthought, the Horizon Seeker tumbling end over end before stabilization thrusters could compensate. Warning lights flashed across every console, and the acrid smell of burnt circuitry filled the cockpit. "System check," Nicholas ordered, his hands moving across the controls with practiced urgency. "Engine capacity at 40%, Lyria reported, adapting to human interfaces with remarkable speed. Life support stable, navigation compromised." They had survived the current, barely, but the damage was extensive. More concerning was their location. The navigational system showed them in an unfamiliar sector, far from their intended exit point. "The current must have shifted since Cella's maps were created," Nicholas muttered, trying to get bearings from stellar positioning. Lyria accessed the communication array. "Long-range transmitters are offline. Short-range functional but limited." They drifted in silence for a moment, the reality of their situation settling around them. They had escaped immediate danger but were now stranded in unknown space with a damaged ship and no way to contact allies, assuming any allies existed. "The data core?" Nicholas asked suddenly. Lyria checked the secure compartment. "Intact. Whatever else happens, we've preserved the evidence." A bitter laugh escaped him. "Small comfort if we can't deliver it to anyone." She moved to him then, her purple hand covering his on the control panel. "We're alive, Nicholas, together. That's not nothing." He turned to her, struck again by how quickly she had become essential to him. Her resilience, her grace under pressure, the way her silver eyes held wisdom and warmth in equal measure. "No," he agreed softly. "That's not nothing." A sensor alert interrupted their moment of connection. Something was approaching, a vessel significantly larger than the Horizon Seeker. "Could they have followed us through the current?" Lyria asked, tension evident in her luminescent glow. Nicholas studied the readings. Different configuration. Not military. He opened a visual channel and they watched as the ship grew larger on their viewport, an elegant craft with flowing lines that suggested advanced engineering. "That's a Nexus Guild vessel," Lyria whispered, recognition and hope mingling in her voice. "Nexus Guild? Independent coalition of scientists and diplomats. They operate outside governmental jurisdictions, dedicated to knowledge exchange and peaceful cooperation." Her eyes widened. "They might be our best chance." The communication system crackled to life. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Nexus Guild ship Asteria. You appear damaged. Do you require assistance?" Nicholas and Lyria exchanged glances, a wordless conversation passing between them. This could be salvation, or another trap. "Asteria, this is cartographer Nicholas Reed of the Terran Science Division," he responded cautiously. "We've sustained damage traversing the Kythera current and would welcome assistance." A pause then. "Acknowledged, Horizon Seeker. Prepare for tractor beam. Our hangar will accommodate your vessel." As the tractor beam engaged, gently drawing their ship toward the much larger vessel, Lyria placed her hand protectively over the compartment containing the data core. "If this is a trap," Nicholas said quietly, "we'll have nowhere to run. And if it's not, she countered, we may have found exactly who we need. The Nexus Guild lived up to its reputation. Within hours of their arrival, the Horizon Seeker was undergoing repairs while Nicholas and Lyria were welcomed aboard the Asteria, not as prisoners, but as guests. Their host, a dignified woman named Director Alara Voss, listened intently as they explained their situation, the data core sitting on the table between them in her private quarters. These allegations are grave, she said when they finished. Conspiracy at the highest levels of both governments to sabotage the peace process. We have proof, Lyria assured her, gesturing to the core. Complete communication records, financial transactions, operational plans, everything needed to expose those responsible. Director Voss studied them both, her expression thoughtful. The Nexus Guild has long suspected interference in the peace process. We've lost colleagues to accidents when they've gotten too close to the truth. She tapped a console, bringing up a galactic map. In 3 days, the Galactic Council convenes on Arcturus Station for its centennial assembly. Every major power will have representation. A public forum, Nicholas realized. No chance for a cover-up? Precisely, the director nodded. The Asteria can transport you there. Once the evidence is presented, those responsible will have nowhere to hide. Hope, a luxury Nicholas had abandoned days ago, flickered back to life. You'd do this knowing the risk. The Nexus Guild exists to preserve knowledge and foster peace, Director Voss replied simply. This mission aligns perfectly with our purpose. After the director left to make arrangements, Nicholas and Lyria found themselves alone in comfortable guest quarters, the stars streaking by as the Asteria traveled at speeds the Horizon Seeker could never achieve. 3 days until Arcturus, Lyria mused, standing at the viewport. After living moment to moment for so long, it almost feels like an eternity. Nicholas joined her, his hand finding hers in what had become a natural gesture. A welcome respite. And after? She asked. The question that had hovered unspoken between them finally finding voice. Once the data core is delivered, what happens to us? It was the future neither had dared contemplate, beyond survival, beyond the mission. I can't go back to mapping uninhabited sectors, Nicholas admitted. Not after everything we've seen, everything we've shared. Lyria turned to him, her silver eyes holding a vulnerability she rarely displayed. And I cannot return to diplomatic service as though nothing has changed. As though I haven't changed. The planet, Nicholas said suddenly. My hidden world. After this is over, we could go there. Start something new. Not just for us, but as a true cooperative outpost. The vision of Proxima Station reborn. A place where others like us could find refuge, Lyria added, catching his vision and expanding it. Those who see beyond the artificial boundaries our governments have created. The idea took shape between them. Not just a personal sanctuary, but a mission. A purpose larger than themselves. It won't be easy, Nicholas cautioned. Even with the conspiracy exposed, there will be resistance to change. Lyria's luminescence brightened, her tendrils curling with what he now recognized as determination. Nothing worthwhile ever is. She stepped closer, her hands framing his face. But I cannot imagine facing those challenges without you beside me. The confession hung in the air between them. Not just desire or circumstantial alliance, but something deeper. Something neither had expected to find in the cold reaches of space. I love you, Nicholas said simply, the words both foreign and perfect on his tongue. Against all logic and probability, I love you, Lyria Zenth. Her bioluminescence pulsed brightly, a visible manifestation of emotion. And I love you, Nicholas Reed. Across stars and species and impossible odds. Their kiss sealed the declaration, no longer an exploration of differences, but a celebration of connection. Two beings who had found in each other not just passion or purpose, but home. Arcturus Station loomed before them, a massive structure at the confluence of major trade routes. Neutral ground where the Galactic Council had maintained its headquarters for centuries. The Asteria's approach was logged and approved without incident, their diplomatic clearance opening doors that would otherwise have remained closed. We've identified council members we believe are trustworthy, Director Voss explained as they prepared for disembarkation, representatives with no ties to the military factions implicated in your evidence. Nicholas adjusted the formal attire provided by the guild, similar enough to his Terran uniform to establish credibility, different enough to signal his independence. Beside him, Lyria wore diplomatic robes that honored her Australasian heritage while incorporating guild emblems of protection. "You'll be escorted directly to the council chamber," the director continued. "Security is tight, but our intelligence suggests your pursuers have not anticipated this move. They're still searching the sectors near the Kithera current. And the data core?" Lyria asked. "Copied and distributed to secure locations," Voss confirmed. "Even if something happens to the original, the truth will emerge." The weight of the moment pressed upon them as they made final preparations. This wasn't just about their survival anymore. It was about the future of peace between their peoples. In their private moment before departure, Nicholas held Lyria close, breathing in her unique scent that had become as necessary to him as oxygen. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "finding you was worth it all." Her tendrils curled around his wrist in that intimate gesture he'd grown to love. "Not an ending," she reminded him. "A beginning." The Galactic Council chamber hushed as they entered, representatives from 100 worlds turning to observe the unexpected arrivals. At the center of the chamber, the presentation podium awaited, a place where for generations diplomats had argued for peace or war. Today, it would serve the cause of truth. Nicholas felt the stares, curiosity, suspicion, and in some cases unmistakable alarm as recognition dawned. Beside him, Lyria walked with the poise of a diplomat, but he could sense her tension in the subtle glow beneath her purple skin. As they approached the podium, movement at the chamber's entrance caught his attention. A contingent of uniformed officials, both human and Australasian, had arrived, their expressions dark as they spotted the pair. "They're here," Nicholas murmured. "Too late," Lyria replied, her voice steady as she placed the data core into the reader. The evidence unfolded before the assembled council. Communications, orders, financial transfers, the web of deceit that had nearly led two civilizations back to war. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber as names appeared, including several council members who suddenly found themselves under the scrutiny of their peers. The uniformed contingent, who had entered, made no move to interfere, with hundreds of witnesses, and the evidence already displaying, any action would only confirm their guilt. When the presentation concluded, silence filled the vast chamber. Then, slowly, a representative rose, an elder statesman from a neutral world. "In my 300 years of service to this council, I have never witnessed evidence so compelling or so disturbing," he declared. "I move for an immediate investigation into all parties implicated, and the formation of a new peace commission led by independent voices." The motion carried with overwhelming support, guards moving to detain those most clearly implicated in the conspiracy. The chamber erupted in activity. Shocked conversations, procedural motions, calls for order. In the midst of the chaos, Director Voss appeared beside them. "It's done," she said simply. "The Guild has arranged secure transport whenever you're ready to depart. Where shall we take you?" Nicholas and Lyria exchanged glances, a world of understanding passing between them. "There's a planet," Nicholas began, "unmapped and perfect, where something new can begin," Lyria finished. 1 year later, the settlement had grown faster than either of them had anticipated. What began as a single outpost now comprised a dozen structures nestled in the valley between twin mountains, overlooking a lake of such perfect blue it seemed almost artificial. Nicholas stood on the observation platform of what they now called Harmony Station, watching as a shuttle descended, the third arrival this month, bringing scientists, diplomats, and families seeking the rare opportunity to live beyond the politics of their homeworlds. Warm arms encircled him from behind, the familiar glow of Lyria's bioluminescence reflecting off the metal railing. "Thinking profound thoughts, Star Charter?" she asked, using the nickname that had stuck from their earliest days together. "Remembering," he corrected, turning to face her. The past year had changed them both, his hair now longer, her tendrils adorned with the beads of an Australasian bonding ceremony they had performed 6 months earlier. "The new research facility breaks ground tomorrow," she informed him. "The Nexus Guild has approved all the funding we requested. Director Voss coming for the ceremony, along with representatives from both our worlds," Lyria confirmed. "The moderate factions that took power after the conspiracy was exposed are eager to show their support for cooperative ventures." Nicholas looked past her to the settlement. Below, humans and Australasians, moving among the buildings, working together, children of both species playing by the lakeshore. It was everything Proxima Station might have become given the chance. Did you ever imagine, when your ship was damaged and drifting, that this is where you'd end up? He asked. Lyria's silver eyes caught the light of the setting sun. I imagined many fates, most of them brief and unpleasant. Her hand rose to trace the line of his jaw, a gesture that still sent warmth cascading through him. I never imagined happiness, no regrets. The diplomatic corps would welcome you back with honors after your vindication. My place is here, she said simply, with you, building something that matters. The shuttle touched down on the landing pad, new arrivals emerging into the golden afternoon light, faces filled with hope and possibility. I still can't believe we found each other, Nicholas murmured, across all that emptiness. Lyria smiled, her expression holding the wisdom that had first drawn him to her. The universe is vast but not empty. It's filled with connections, threads of possibility binding every star to every other. We simply followed ours to its natural conclusion. As the sun set over their hidden world, Nicholas and Lyria stood together, watching as their impossible dream took shape below them, proof that even in the darkest reaches of space, hearts could find their constellation.